A woman claims that in 1972, she had an extraordinary encounter with a being not of this world. The incident happened in Huntington, Indiana. She was only 4 years old, but still has a decent recall of the events. At the time, she was at a friend's house being watched by her friend's mother. The mother was doing laundry downstairs, but would periodically check in on them as they enjoyed their toys up in the playroom. At some point, a figure appeared in the room. They immediately determined that he was a playmate. The witness recalls running up to him and asking him his name and if he would like to play with them. I was not scared. I just went right up to him, you know? You're little. You're not judging somebody on the color of their skin or how tall, thin, or fat, or any of the other stuff. You're just judging somebody on how they make you feel, and if they're friendly, and I was a child. For some period of time, the three played together. The curious detail about this case is what this being looked like. I really love Sesame Street, and so this being actually took the form of one of the characters. I believe now, reflecting back on it, because we weren't afraid. I remember his eyes. They were really big and insect-like, but the rest of him looked like the character. His name was Fozzie on Sesame Street, but he actually played with us, and we had a great time, just playing and laughing. Fans of Sesame Street will note that Fozzie Bear was not a character on Sesame Street. Rather, he appeared on The Muppet Show. His first appearance was in 1976, the same year that The Muppet Show started airing, which is some 4 years after this encounter took place. I do not believe that the witness is lying, only that she was mistaken about the character. There are a number of characters that were appearing on Sesame Street at that time that one might confuse for Fozzie Bear, including Oscar the Grouch, the Cookie Monster, and Grover. Elmo, the much beloved furry red monster, also curiously made his first appearance on the show in 1972, the same time this event took place. What the creature looked like is really not that important. It is what transpired in her account that most interests me. The amount of time that they had stayed playing in that room is unclear, but the witness does remember that at some point, the being seemed to be aware of the mother coming in to check on them, even though the witness and her friend did not hear her coming. In his rush to exit the room, the being went for the window. As he was crawling out the window, he accidentally hit his leg on the ledge, and, for a brief moment, they saw him as he really looked. She noted his eyes were, quote, black and large, like an insect. Large, very, very large, and his skin appeared white, and it reminded her of a mouse. Not the body part, but the skin was like this creamy white texture with pink. And when he hit his leg, he let out a scream, because I think he hurt himself. But he moved so fast, I couldn't be able to tell you I saw him run to the window, because he was just there. And, you know, this scream, and my eyes just happened to be in the right direction, because I saw his foot and it was bent. She and her friend leaned out the window pleading for the being to come back and play with them. She recalls that they could see him in the bushes, but he did not return. She also recalls that they told the mother to come and have a look, to no avail. She assumed it was an imaginary playmate, and never thought twice about it, the witness recalls. The witness told only a few people of her encounter, and was ridiculed for it. I can't tell anybody or they'll put me in a straitjacket, or they'll say, you must have been dreaming, or they'll say, you were so young maybe your mom put you in front of a television, because I can remember that one, or maybe it's something you saw on TV. No, I remember. I remember laughing and laughing, and seeing those eyes. In the years since the event, she has pondered many aspects of the encounter, namely how the being seemed to be aware of the mother's movements in the house, and how it seemed to be able to identify a character on a TV show that she had watched in order to take on a form that would allow her and her friend to feel comfortable in its presence. It was not a bad experience whatsoever. It was just laughing and playing, and I have no idea how much time elapsed, but I do remember thinking, how did he know that Mary was coming? Now as an adult, not as a child, reflecting on it, how did he know? He knew that that woman was on her way to check on us. I remember him watching from the bushes, but he did not come back in, that I can remember. I often wonder if he's still around just watching, you know. Now as an adult, I know that he probably just projected that image to me so that, you know, I'd be comfortable. Looking back on it now, thinking about how somehow they know. Somehow he could move through our memories because he knew I watched Sesame Street, and he took on that image. But the only thing that did not fit was the eyes. There were two other very similar reports, all occurring in 1972, one in Chamonix, New York, and the other in Downey, California, in which child witnesses claimed that they encountered beings that took on the form of cartoons and other children's show characters. I plan on discussing them in full in later videos. One detail that I found interesting is how the witness claims that the being was able to change its form, except its eyes. In episode 17 of Tony Merkel's The Confessionals podcast, which aired on May 13, 2017, guest Jason Weaver of the Sequoia Sasquatch Society related his own experience with an apparent being or beings that were able to take on the form of various cartoon characters, including Fred Flintstone and Mickey Mouse. He claims that these encounters happened when he was a child in 1972 while living with his parents in Chamonix, New York. He too believes that the being or beings that appeared to him in his room also scanned his mind in hopes of finding a character which might make him feel comfortable. Like with the Indiana witness, Weaver noted that the only detail they seemed unable to get right was the eyes. Even though the rest of the being appeared like Fred Flintstone or Mickey Mouse, the eyes always stayed the same, large, black, and terrifying. He claims that he could actually see it transform from character to character, the eyes being the big giveaway, that what he was seeing was a projection rather than a reality. He believes the being used its eyes to hypnotize him, projecting the image of cartoon characters into his mind, with the intent of obscuring its real appearance. In much the same way abductees describe encountering owls, raccoons, and other animals during UFO sightings and encounters with its occupants. In 1996, Tyco Toys released the Tickle Me Elmo doll. It was equipped with a computer chip which laughed when tickled. Since then, hundreds of people have reported the doll as being haunted. In February 2008, a Lithia family, the Bowmans, reported that the doll told their 2-year-old son that it would kill him. Just a coincidence, I'm sure.